some of the days, and then the other ones I wanna throw away. I know I'll ruin what I have, but what's the point of knowing never has yours?
Episode three. Interesting one for me, just because I am a strong believer on everything that we talk about. But this one for me just kind of hits home because I've been molding myself to this theme. But before we jump into it, just want to make sure that I plug this beautiful T-shirt. It's my boy Marcos' and Fernando's band.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's June.
Okay.
And we're gonna have a song playing in the background. The song that you heard already is the one that they're currently having out.
Okay.
So very, very cool band, local band. Very, very good, down to earth guys. I played a song just recently. You heard them. What did you think?
I liked it. It reminded me of some old school, and forgive me, Marco, if this is not the kind of song you're going for, but it reminded me of some like Maroon 5. You know what I mean? With that Adam Levine kind of vibe and just the instruments and like this more mellow kind of band take feel to it.
Yeah. They got a good they have good radio cuts is what I usually just kind of wind it down to, and they're just, like I said, good people. But before we get into the actual topic, I want to check in with you, man.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see how you're doing, how your week went, how you're feeling. I know some of the things that you did over the weekend. If you want to get into that, that'd be perfect. But let me know how you're doing, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like this conversation or that question has been naturally coming up amongst my loved ones, friends who I've been having the honor and privilege to share space with. Shout out Nan, Zach, and Corey, who I had a chance to actually go to an event to yesterday. Chi-Chi's Bombazo, I believe was what the event was called, and forgive me if I misspoke on the exact name of the event, but basically it was this like pop-up Puerto Rican vibe music. There was drums, there was dancing, there was music, there was a I'm gonna mispronounce it, but there's arepas. I know I can say that one. There was arepas, there was some traditional Puerto Rican food, and so that was an event that I got a chance to be at. And even just being in that space and being with my friends, like naturally I'm in a high, you know what I mean? I'm happy. Yes. There's music, there's community, there's love, right? There's good food. And a part of me sharing space with people is having intentional conversations, right? Even in the midst of like all this fun, it really is me also making sure I ask them like, yo, how are you feeling? Which then naturally transitions into them asking how I'm feeling. And something that I've just been really proud to say is that I'm feeling freaking good, man. I'm feeling freaking good. And there's so many reasons as to why I'm feeling that way. I guess I'll do a few bullet points. One, I've been really intentional and disciplined with just like the way I'm eating, right? Mm-hmm. And we know within the Latino culture, like it can be difficult to eat healthy, right? Because everything tastes so good.
Yes.
And the things that taste the best aren't necessarily the healthiest, right? You like that, huh? But I've been very disciplined. And you know what? I know that sometimes when we think healthy, it's just like chicken and rice. And there is some of that. But honestly, add just like a bomb salsa, like on that chicken and rice, and you aren't going to get tired of it, right? Mm-hmm. Incorporating very intentional amounts of like protein. Protein is really big on building muscle growth, recovery. And I think that goes hand in hand with something else that's just been a really big part of my life more intentionally is that of just physical fitness, right? Working out, but doing so with an extra level of just like intention in the gym. And I'm not just there to be there. I'm there to break a sweat. I'm there to try to do an extra set of something that maybe the week before I was only doing 3 sets. Like, let me see if I can do 4, right? Or let's say the week before I was doing reps of 25 pounds. Let's see if I can do 27.5, right? Mm-hmm. Even it goes back to our last episode of that growth kind of mindset and seeing how much better can I do the next time around. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'll be trying to lift that 27, like, nope, not yet ready, right? And that's okay. Yeah. Because I only could have known if I was ready by trying it though, right? Because if I'm just staring at it and if I'm afraid of even giving it a go, then I fix mindset, right? So bringing in some of the stuff that we were talking about last week. And so good eating, physical fitness. My daughters are healthy, happy, in a good place. Shout out to their mom, Odalis, for having them this weekend and taking them to some really big like family gatherings.
Oh, that's great.
She sent me a video of my daughter Lilo. So my daughters are half Mexican, half Salvadorian.
Yes, they are.
And the Mexican part is not from me; it
Right.
is from their mom.
Yeah, should make that clear.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
and shout out, to all my Mexican community and peeps
Yeah.
out there.
My
Clearly here
brothers
in,
and the
in
sisters.
in Northern California, especially in the Bay Area, like we've grown up majority actually amongst Mexicans, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And she sent me a video with Lilo at this event. It was a quinceañera, and there's a banda, and this girl is a dancer, bro. Like
Oh God.
she's a dancer.
Yeah.
Like anytime there's music, what we watch on TV is dance related stuff, and she like is learning all the steps. And mind you, she's 2.5. Like she's little, man, but she just gravitates towards that energy and that music. And so the video is her literally being in front of the banda, and Odalis, their mom, was like, I couldn't. It was hard for me to get her away from the banda. Like she did not want to leave,
Right.
And so it's so cool, man, to see that. And then shout out to my other daughter, Imelda, who was in the party running around. She has her own unique personality, man. So, man, I could go on and on. It would be a whole podcast episode of like why I'm feeling so good. But I'm very honored and blessed to like be feeling this way because I know what it's like to not feel this way. You know what I mean? I know what it's like to be on that other end and just basically like looking for straws to try to like pick you up and make you feel better, right?
Yeah.
So to have an abundance of things that are contributing to me feeling good, it's a blessing. It's an honor, bro.
Definitely, man. And I'm happy that you're happy, man. And I feed off that. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I love the fact that you're talking about, going up a step from the 25 to the 2.5 up, right?
Mhm.
To 2.5 pounds higher
Mhm.
than the 25. And sometimes it's okay not to be ready for that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you'll get better, right?
Yeah.
You'll get
Mhm.
better. Those
Mhm.
those weights, they don't get easier,
Yeah.
right? The weights don't get. They're always going to be 25 pounds,
Yeah.
but you get better. You get 2.5 pounds better,
Yeah.
5 pounds,
Mhm.
10 pounds better. And I definitely appreciate the fact that you're bringing up your family. He actually sends me videos throughout the week
Mhm.
of the girls playing and stuff. And there's something about just watching him as a father, just doing his thing that just literally lights up my mornings or whenever you send
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you know like how much that means to me
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the way that we grew up.
Mhm.
Seeing you as a model,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're not only my cousin, you're somebody who now I'm modeling what a father figure should look like,
Yeah.
man. So
Or can look like,
or
right?
can look like
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm super glad to hear that you're doing well, man.
Yeah,
Super
no,
glad.
I appreciate you creating the space. I definitely didn't want to come here and find something to say is wrong with me for the sake of right, like there
Yeah.
needing to be something wrong because that's just not how I'm feeling.
Right, right,
And
right. Yeah.
again, the day that I come to this podcast set and there is something wrong, I will openly say like, "Yo, I'm
Yeah.
struggling." Right, because
Right.
that'll be real for me in that moment. But in the same way, right, we want to display vulnerability and allow ourselves to model what it's like to openly communicate when things aren't in the best state, right? Last week was you kind of mentioning some of your back
Yeah.
injuries and kind of how
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
taking a toll on you in these different ways, which I love that you were able to just kind of share that so openly and vulnerably, right? I think it's just as important when we're in a good place to like just also emphasize and highlight that, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a beauty in like honoring that experience and that feeling because we know it can be fleeting, like it can go away at any given time, right? So while you're in it, like really be in it. And I think that's
Yeah.
what 33 about to be 34 soon, like I'm really learning how to get better at that, like really being present with my current state and not worrying about what's to come tomorrow because tomorrow isn't even guaranteed.
Yeah, you got to handle today.
Mhm.
And, just a quick update on that. I actually feel a lot better,
Good. Good.
So, just to echo what you said, I'm definitely going to come honest,
Yeah.
right? And I
Mhm.
wasn't in the best of
Yeah.
positions. I wasn't
Yeah.
horrible or super bad, but I knew that there had to be some kind of change,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I've been doing those changes. So yeah. we're all good here.
Yeah,
We're all
good.
good.
And
We're all good.
hopefully the audience is in a good place. And if you're not, just know it's okay to not be okay. But in the same way, right, that here on in this podcast set, we create a space to check in. I just encourage anybody out there who may be watching, with whoever you love and whoever you trust and feel you can confide in. If they're not creating that space for you, don't be afraid to ask them if they're okay at least sharing space that you'll create for yourself, right? Kind of goes back to something we were talking about last week, that if you don't have that support system, go out and seek it, go out and look for it. And so I think similarly with, if there isn't a current space where you can share your emotions, don't be afraid to create it yourself with somebody that you know, you love and trust, because they might not even know that you want that space.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, right? We can't just assume that our loved ones know that we're not in a good place, and that they should be creating these spaces. There's some dope people that for some reason there's just like intuitive though, right? They just know, like they can feel it.
Empathetic or sort of an empath. Yeah.
But not everybody's like that, or we all have our own like responsibilities and kind of cups that we're juggling, and so give yourself grace, give them grace, and don't be afraid to ask a friend like, hey, I really need somebody to talk to, and you came to mind for me, and I'd love if you had some time, because I trust you, and it could be helpful for me to just kind of like be in a space where I can share with you what's going on with my life.
Right. Yeah. And that's, you allow the other person to do something kind for you, right? Which is sort of a great segue to the actual topic and theme for today. Today we're talking about acts of kindness, the importance of the acts of kindness, and how just a little show of kindness can actually go a very, very long way. And I actually have a few questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
You're like, it's my turn. I got the question.
I got the questions. Nothing that I don't think you've already thought about, but I'd just love to hear your thoughts on a few things. So the importance of the acts of kindness. What do you say what can you say has contributed to your growth in being kind to other people? Just sort of a side note to give my reflection on my thought about him, in terms of that thought. He's a very, very thoughtful person. I think you when you say certain things, you think it through, and I don't think it's a forced kindness that comes out of that, but there is absolute kindness in what you say and things that you do. And I'm wondering, like, what kind of led you to be that person? Because I feel, I don't know, right, that maybe there was a few things that happened in your life that made you kind of mold into the person that you are now, in the acts of kindness.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think for me, I'd have to go back in time, right? I'd have to get in a little bit of a time machine for you and highlight my upbringing, right? And the components of that upbringing included a lot of bullying, a lot of insults, a lot of being picked on. And I'm talking about probably from like the 4th grade to like the 9th grade. Like there was that window where I literally dreaded going to school. A few things that the viewers out there may not know about me. I know we tried to touch upon this actually 2 weeks ago when we attempted to film the 2nd episode, and then we had some technical difficulties. But a few things that you might not know about me. One, my name hasn't always been Antonio. It used to be Elmer Antonio Martinez. So Antonio was always in there. But Elmer, the root of that name, was because my dad lied to my mom when they met. My dad wasn't really in my life consistently or actively. And when he met my mom, he gave him a false name. My mom, being young, I want to say she was maybe 24, in love with my dad. My dad's actually a really charming guy. And my mom, I'm imagining, trying to put myself in her shoes, must have thought to herself at that age that if I name him after his dad, maybe his dad will feel compelled to be in his life. Didn't necessarily happen. So that's a little bit of a background behind the name. But the name itself, right? If you grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, you know that there's a few different ways that you can make fun of someone with that name, right? There's Elmer's glue, It's close
Elmer
enough to
Fudd.
Elmer Fudge, right?
Yeah.
Who happened to be the guy that Bugs Bunny like made look like a clown all
Right.
the
So he was,
time,
yeah, even in the
right?
character, he was made fun of. Yeah.
Yeah, so the name was not the most helpful name during that time where a lot of kids, I think, are projecting a lot of insecurities. I know that now, right? And trying to
Yes. Yes.
see who they can get the attention on in some type of way so that it's not on them for whatever they're insecure about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, I used to actually have a mole on my face. I'm forgetting where it was. That's how long it was. I don't even know if you fully remember
I'm
it, but
not on what side. I remember that. I
yeah,
remember
I
it
had a
though. Yeah.
mole on my face that was a pretty significant size for the size of my face at that time. And a movie came out during that time, which you may
Austin
remember, Austin
Powers.
Powers,
No.
Gold Member.
No.
And there was a character there that was basically made fun of because of his mole.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a line where the main character literally like pointed at him very directly and was like, "Mole, mole, mole." So to say that I then every day dreaded possibly experienced that happening to me, I basically began walking around school hiding my face. I'd put my face under my shirt. Forgive me for the audio there. I'd walk around like this a lot, or just with my head down. It really took a toll on me mentally. It really took a toll on me emotionally. It really took a toll on me physically. It's what led me to go home a lot of times crying and asking my mom, "Mom, why is everybody so mean to me?" The most difficult part was that the kids that I felt were most mean to me were the ones that I most wanted to be accepted by. It was the kids that I wanted to like me the most were the ones that had no problem getting everybody to make fun of me. And mind you, brother, sometimes it was like the first class of the day. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't even get through the first 30 minutes without having all this attention on me that led to me just wanting to go home, right? And then I just had to navigate the rest of the day that way. It led me to ask my mom if we could explore possibly getting it surgically removed. We went to Kaiser. The doctors were really kind. Shout out to those doctors that didn't make me feel bad for wanting to remove my mole. They did say like, "Hey, we typically only remove moles if they're like cancerous, but we can also remove it if someone doesn't like the way it cosmetically looks on them," right? And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want this." Um, and although I don't regret like having it taken off, because I do think it changed a lot of the trajectory of like my self-esteem, even the fact that I was able to stop hiding my face, bro.
I think I remember you actually walking around with like your shirt on, like up over your mouth and your chin almost.
Yeah.
Walking in high school.
Yeah, I would do that. So not so much in high school, but before that. But I mean, there might have been other reasons why I was maybe hiding my face. I mean, I definitely grew up with a lot of insecurities. You don't. The interesting thing is, even once I got my mole removed, I wouldn't be surprised if I was still doing that out of habit, right? If nothing
Yeah.
else, out of habit, right? Because I lived that time period, which is multiple years in that mental state. At that point, it becomes like second nature to want to hide my face, right? But thankfully, by like eighth, because I got it removed in the eighth grade. I'm gonna give a pretty quick, funny story though, if you don't mind, and hopefully the audience enjoys it. So I was going to Helms Middle School, sixth and seventh grade. That's out here in Richmond, California, maybe the San Pablo area more. Then they opened Dijon Middle School for eighth grade.
Yeah.
That's in Richmond. That's on McDonald, right?
Richmond,
That's
yep.
Richmond.
Very Richmond.
And so a lot of us from all different schools, Richmond High, Kennedy, and who knows what other schools got sent there because it was closer proximity wise to our homes, right? And there was like those lines that would divide what school you would go to. So when I got to Dijon, right, I came with all of these insecurities, all of these fears that everybody there was just going to continue to make fun of me. Interestingly enough, not many kids from Helms transferred to Dijon with me. So it was this fresh start, but I didn't trust it though, right? So I still walked around like that. I still had my face. I still had my mole. And then winter break came, and that's when I was going to get it surgically removed. So I had a friend named Michael. So before we went on this winter break, I remember I told Michael, look at me, man. Look at me. When I come back from winter break, I'm not going to look the same, right?
Yeah.
And Michael's like, all right, dude. I'm like, for sure, bro.
Yeah.
So I come back from winter break, right? Winter break comes and passes. I have it removed, get the stitches. Stitches come off. Winter break's kind of long, like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
maybe even 3. So we come back. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm so excited for Michael to see me. So first period comes. We're running late. I see Michael. I'm like, Michael, meet me here after this class. So he had different class. I had different class. We meet up and I'm like, look at me, Michael. You recognize me? It's like, did you get new clothes? Did you get new shoes?
Yeah,
I'm
no
like,
shit,
bro,
yeah.
my face. He was like, what's wrong with your face? And it hit me like, damn, I hid my face so much at this new school where kids hadn't really like even taken time to make fun of me.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, this is how you always look to me.
Yeah.
Which was cool. It was cool though, because it made me
Right.
then not have to like wonder if I had to do that with everybody else at the school. Like prove a point that I look different.
Yeah.
But I share all of that, and I'll circle back to your original question. All of those experiences basically put me in the shoes and the mentality of I want to treat others the way I wished I would have been treated during that time frame of my life. Right?
Yeah.
I wish somebody would have said, "Hey, bro, don't worry about what anybody else thinks. You got this. You're loved. You're important. You're smart. You're capable. Just whatever, bro."
Mm-hmm.
So I hold on to that deeply, man. I hold on to those experiences deeply, not as a way to continue with insecurities or fear, but to make sure that I can contribute and share some love and kindness with just anybody and everybody that needs it. Man.
Yeah. What an amazing story. Yeah. I mean, it could have been like now. I wish I would be able to ask your friend like, which one was it? The fact that you actually covered your face a lot, or the fact that he
He just
after a
didn't.
while just didn't care.
That's a great
Or
question.
you know, speaking on that same thing, I've had a few experiences in my life. Like I think for some reason people think that I've always been like sort of a popular kid, or yeah, just popular, always liked.
Yeah.
But you know, I worked really hard at just people pleasing a lot, which led me down a whole different path. But I had an experience similar to yours. My freshman year, I was not popular. I don't think I was like fitting any category, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I had my cousin Robbie, who was like always in Mr. Food's class in the computer lab, and I was with him. I still had my cousin Tony that I would hang around with as well. My sister was going to Kennedy at that time as well. So most people knew me as Rose's little brother. Like they didn't know me. Like months into the school year, I kind of got fed up because I was like, yo, I got a name.
Yeah.
Like I'm not Rose's little brother.
Yeah.
I'm John. You know, like start to learn my name. You know, it got a little frustrating, but I just had like a pair of Adidas. Actually, I had some Iversons, some black Iversons for the full year, and I had two like Adidas sweatshirts that were just different colors. They were the same exact style, just a different color, and like 3 or 4 pair of jeans. I didn't really care too much, you know. But then, you know, you kind of grow to be curious about other different things. Start to get more into girls. Like, how can I actually get to talk to these girls and stuff? I had really bad acne at that time too, and it started to clear up, sort of at the tail end of my freshman year. And I started hanging around Tony a lot more often. And then Tony, you know, bless his heart, you know, he was like, "Bro, you got to step it up, man. You got to step it up, like." I can't have you be around me
hanging out with me and the crew,
looking like this, but in such a great way. Like it was, you know, if anybody knows my cousin Tony, he's not going to clown on you or anything like that. Well, he will, but just in a different way. He wouldn't clown on me with that part because he knew that I was going through that phase and maybe he could relate. But like he was like, you need to get some forces and like some throwbacks and this and that, and I, you know, just kind of bought into it. Asked my mom. My mom was like, "Heck no!
Yeah,
like
expensive.
These throwbacks cost $150.
They're expensive."
But I ended up getting one throwback over that summer break, which was the Atlanta Braves.
Oof, I remember that one.
That was a clean
Fire.
one. It was a royal blue. That was mostly royal blue. It had the white sleeves, and it was just a clean jersey. And some shoes to go with it. I really only had that one outfit, and then, but I did have some forces now that I can wear with anything else.
Yeah,
the white forces, right? You can wear them with anything. So I started to kind of step my game up. And just like I would say a few weeks into my sophomore year, I was standing outside of Mr. Salarici's class, class 605, which faced the K, so the courtyard, and a group of girls came, they're cool now, like they're super cool. They came to me and they're like, "Hey, you know, you're cute. What school did you transfer from?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yo,
I've been here the whole time."
And I was in the same class as one of them, right?
Yeah.
The whole year in our freshman year, it's like I was in your same science class all year last year. Now, so I did that. I made that transition, and there was a girl that I liked in my freshman year. Right, her name was Nicole Eastman. Right. We had that same science class, and she sat on one bench, and then I sat on another bench, but we sat on sort of the sides that are parallel to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I would turn around and, we'll talk and stuff, and she would always ask me questions about science, our science work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really cool, but I just had this crush on her. And then like after I got comfortable talking to her in that my same freshman year, towards the end, I asked her out and she said no, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we kept on talking.
Yeah.
She still gave me her number and stuff like that. We would talk. I'd call the house back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Like,
With the whole
who's this? Can I talk to Nicole, please? This is John. After all, they just knew it was me.
I miss those days, bro.
That was good. That was a good time. That was a good time. Yeah, I mean, talk about getting to know the family.
Exactly,
like,
immediately talking of pops. Who's calling my daughter?
My house?
Yeah.
And what this ain't the time to be calling the house.
Right? Yeah, you have to be mindful of that part.
Heck yeah. So I asked her out 3 times. The third time, I was like, "Listen, I won't ask you again. I promise." But I said, "Come third period," because we crossed to go to our classes. Just give me like a yes or a no. If it's no, I get it. I completely understand. This is my freshman year. When I wasn't, I didn't transform like at that point. And she had said yes. So we had started dating like the end of my freshman year.
So heading into summertime
and stuff. But now I'm looking back at it, like she showed me, she gave me a lot more than I think I warranted back then, because maybe she saw something in me some way, somehow. Like, this guy isn't the best looking. He definitely isn't the best dressed. But he's actually kind of cool and stuff like that.
I can talk to him.
He's smart because we helped each other out in science.
And you were resilient too. 3 times?
Yeah, 3 times, man.
That means you got rejected twice.
I got rejected 2 times. It was tough.
Yeah.
But I think back at those times now, and I'm not even sure if I would do that if I was in her shoes.
For sure.
Which is kind of strange. But she showed me that bit of kindness, like, you know what, this guy has potential. But yeah, so I had a little bit sort of that similar experience, but just with my first girlfriend that I've ever had in my life. We were together for like 5 years and keep in contact with. Shout out Nicole.
Yeah, shout out Nicole. I remember Nicole. She was definitely a sweetheart. I mean, at the time, when y'all were dating, we were all young, right? And I was definitely a lot more into my introverted stage because of a lot of those things that transpired. But I remember that she always had this really warm kind of presence. She had this really sweet smile, and I knew you both like really appreciated each other. Y'all were young, so I'm sure there was probably some decisions or actions that you look back to like, why would we do that, right? That weren't maybe the most healthy things. But that's young love, you know what I mean? But the one thing that I think, even as an outsider, because I'm very observant even to this day, is that y'all both had like a very genuine friendship in addition to the relationship y'all had.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was the foundation of one of the reasons why we lasted for so long. We did it for like 5 years. And then speaking about just going through sort of what you think you know, what you don't know, and what you have to learn, I couldn't have picked somebody else that was better, because
to go through those stages in life.
Because she was so nice, because she was so warm, but that's 2 similar experiences, man. I'm glad that we kind of could relate on that level. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess a question that I had in my back pocket, right, as we would engage in this conversation, as a way to honor someone or something, what would you say the last time, or who was the last person that displayed like an action of kindness to you that you're really thankful for? Like the most recent one.
The most recent?
Yeah, and I'm sure you surround yourself with great, kind people, so I'm sure there could be probably a multitude of examples. But if you just had to shout out one for the sake of this question, maybe you can give us a little insight as to what the act was and why it meant so much to you.
You know what? I gave this person a shout out my last episode, but I'm gonna do it again because it's the most recent. It's my director. My director actually coming out of work on Friday. Well, not coming out of work because I work from home on Fridays, but she needed some reports done and she didn't quite understand something, which is fairly simple. But I wasn't home at that time. It was kind of after hours. I'm on salary, so you don't really ever kind of clock out. But after helping her out, like an hour after, even after hours, like she sent me a text. She was like, "Listen, thank you so much for all you do. You don't have to respond to this, but I really, really just appreciate the fact that you're on it all the
Mhm.
time, and
Mhm.
I feel comfortable asking you for things.
Mhm.
You know, going back to our last episode again, one of my one of the things that I was dealing with was sort of where am I going with my career and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yep.
That made me feel so good about where I'm at though right
Right.
now, because you know, thinking about the future, that's always tough.
Yeah.
But recognizing where I'm at right now with my coworkers, with the workload that I have now, that made me feel so good, man. Like
Mhm.
so good. And I really didn't do anything. Like all I did, we hopped on the call real quick, and it was just something very, very quick that where it's was a blessing because she didn't know how well we're doing last month,
Mhm.
and that's what it showed. She wasn't used to seeing like, oh, we're actually in the green, like way in the green,
Mhm.
and not just breaking even or
Yeah.
not just meeting budget.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was just a good feeling at that moment, at that
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah.
really needed to hear that, and that was my last time, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like the action was just out of recognition
Just that, yeah,
of your hard work and your commitment, right? Which you don't do it to be recognized, and yet it
no,
doesn't hurt to get just like those words of just appreciation,
no,
of gratitude, and it exemplifying the level of trust that they have in you and your work.
yeah, super appreciated. Super
Yeah.
appreciated. What about you? When was the last time?
Yeah, I'd probably go and say this weekend. I'm gonna shout him out, but I'm gonna do something a little different. Forgive me. This is just like being fluid within these
Yeah,
podcasts.
yeah,
But the person I want to shout out is Nan,
brother
who
Nan.
became my barber. I want to say over a year ago, as I was going through my hair journey, which included that of a perm,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
in the vein or that of modeling openness, vulnerability. My hair hasn't always been curly; it's been
yeah.
wavy, so it might have looked to some degree like this had I grown it out the way I have it now. But the perm definitely has allowed for some of the curls to
Yeah.
kind of be a little bit more emphasized.
Well, you've had
Um,
hair that's been sort of long, right?
Kind of, but never
I,
to this extent. This is
yeah.
definitely as long as
The
I've ever
longest you've
had
had
it.
it?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's interesting, right? I'm gonna kind of quickly take a step back too. A part of the long hair was also that of the insecurities, though. Like when I was younger, the long hair
Yeah.
was a part of those insecurities too, of me trying to find different ways to cover or shift
Um,
attention, right? So
yeah.
interesting, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for anybody out there that's ever kind of felt similar or done the same for those reasons, yeah, it's a thing. But this has been more of like a hair journey that's like it started with the perm, right? There was a time frame where the curly hair, the guy curly hair was just cool,
Yeah.
right? But I was afraid to embark on that journey because of the worries of what are other people going to think? What if people make fun of me? What if people
Mm-hmm.
think I'm trying to be somebody I'm not, right?
Mm.
Which is interesting that I would think in that way at the time that I was, because I mean I have tattoos, like so I already have a lot of things that call attention. But for some reason, I think hair is also like a very valuable thing, right? I think in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cultures,
Yeah.
um, and I would say it has been for me for a variety of different reasons in my life. But at that point in time, I wanted to get a perm. But shout out to my other barber, Johnny Blends, who was cutting my hair. He had been going to barber school, and he tried to do the perm the first time. It didn't go so hot. He and I have talked about it, and so then I was like, okay, I don't want to put Johnny there through that stressful moment again and feeling bad because he felt so bad. He was like,
Oh,
Doc,
yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't come out good. Like, I didn't have the right equipment. Like, let me go buy everything and I'll get you right. But I was like, nah, Johnny, don't worry about it. Like, I don't want you to put that pressure on you, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I actually found somebody who I've been following on Instagram. I think I started following him through an old friend, Daniel Fierro, who went to Kennedy with us. I think he gets his haircut from Nan. Posted him on his story on Instagram. Then I decided to follow Nan because I thought, the haircut was cool. So I had Nan, but never had been in communication, never had gotten a haircut. And it just so happened that during that time period, I saw he did a perm. And I was like, oh, damn, that looked good.
Mm-hmm.
So I chatted him real quick on Instagram or DM'd him, not chat, forgive me. We're here talking about like we're on AOL, on AIM and shit.
Yeah.
So I DM'd him and I was like, yo, bro, I've seen that you do perms. I'm in the process of wanting to do that. What does it look like? Like, do you have availability? Do you have capacity? Bro, message me instantly. It was like, come through this day. I'll do your consultation free of charge. I just want to see where your hair is at now so then I can determine how long it's going to be before we can go ahead and actually proceed with the perm process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go the first time, bro, cuts my hair in 30 minutes. One of the best haircuts I've ever gotten in 30 minutes, bro. Didn't charge me anything and was like, look, your hair length, this is where it's at right now. We're probably going to have to let it grow for another 2 months, right? So second or third haircut, forgive me, Nan, for not remembering exactly which one. I'm sitting there. Nan is one of those guys who is naturally curious, and it comes off so natural. It doesn't come off as somebody trying to be nosy or be in your business. It comes off as someone who genuinely wants to care about who you are and learn you, right? And so somewhat of a trigger warning. In that third session, he has my hair clipped up, right? He's doing just the sides. It still needs some time to grow some more, so he's just doing the sides and lining me up. The trigger warning is that he starts asking me about my daughters. He's like, you must be so freaking like proud and blessed that you got your twin daughters in your life right now. And I say, yes, Nan, I really am, man. Thank you for framing it in that way. And I say, you know what, though, I do need to admit to you, before my daughters were born, though, their mom, shout out to you again, Odalis, for just everything that we navigated together, was pregnant before. She was pregnant before the twins. It was during the pandemic, during a time frame where I couldn't even go into the hospitals with her for anything. And so 3 months in, we go actually for the very first check-in to just see a heartbeat. I remember like we went so nonchalant though, right? I had already been telling everybody like, and they mamas that I'm expecting a child, we're pregnant. And it's so interesting because like she foreshadowed this, not on purpose, but she did. And she said, you know, Antonio, you know, be a little careful with who you tell because the 3-month time is like the most riskiest time that anything can happen. And I didn't feel like I knew anybody who had ever had a miscarriage. That felt like such a foreign experience because it's not something that's talked about. Come to find out, a lot of women that I know have actually had that experience. And thank you for all of y'all that have shared that with me and have trusted me with that information. I won't name you who you are, of course. So we go to the doctors. I'm in the car because I can't go in. She goes in there. I'm like texting a friend who I'm about to do a presentation for her high school students. Like we're kind of brainstorming what it's going to look like. I'm excited. I'm listening to music. I think I might even record it like a story on my Instagram. Like I'm chilling, bro. Like the last thing on my mind was that anything bad could have happened in that day, that moment. Odalis comes back. Bless your heart, Odalis. I love you so much for just everything you went through throughout this journey of us becoming parents, even though we're co-parenting now. Just shout out to you. But she comes back to the car and she says, there's no heartbeat. There's no heartbeat. And I just look at her like, what are you talking about? And, you know, she starts crying. I'm trying to hold it all in for her. And she's like, there's no heartbeat. Right. And I'm like, there must be a mistake. No, hell no. Like that. No, there's not. And she dives into my arms and I just hold her, bro. And I just hold her and I'm just like letting her cry as hard as she needs to cry. My heart is beating fast. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do, bro. Like I feel like so powerless in that moment. Right. But I'm trying to stay positive. And, you know, she did say that the doctor said there's a possibility that they just couldn't hear it that day. We can come back again before we have to go through the additional procedure that takes place when there isn't a heartbeat. And I said, okay, we're going to hold on to hope. We're going to hold on to hope. Like our baby's going to have a heartbeat this next time. I just know it. But, you know, bless our baby. We went back and there was still no heartbeat. So I had to proceed. Months follow. You know, we both have a conversation that we want to try again because we really wanted to be parents. So we did. And so fast forward and we have the girls. So I'm telling Nam this story, right? And again, he has me with the cape, right? The hair's on my head. And he's like, dog, hold up. And he runs out the barber shop, bro. And I'm like, where is this man going? Where is he going? He comes back. I'm like, did he feel like empathetic? He's going to give me a piece of candy. Like he's going to give me a gift. Like, what is he coming? And he gave me the absolute best gift he could have gave me. Comes back. He has this book in his hand and he starts flipping through the different pages, right? And it's funny because he's flipping and he actually ends up back like on the first page. And so he's like, read this, right? It ended up being a spiritual book called No Death, No Fear by Thich Nhat Hanh. May his soul and mind rest in peace and his body rest in peace. He was a Buddhist spiritual leader from Vietnam, which is actually where Nan is from too. So Nan, I'm just shouting you out.
He deserves it.
So I start reading the page, right? And it's talking about this guy, he's in this field and there's flowers. But on this particular season, the flowers are like dead, right? They're dead. They're not blossoming or anything. He comes back, and then out of nowhere, the seasons changed and the flowers are beautiful. And he just can't help but wonder, like, man, are these the same flowers that I saw that last time that were dead? Are they new flowers? So within, the visuals and the symbolism of the book, he asked the flowers, are you the flowers I saw last time, or are you different flowers? And the flowers responded to him, and it said, we're not the same flowers you saw last time, but we're also not different flowers. When the season is right and when the conditions are sufficient, we will manifest. We will come. And when they're not, we won't. So then I keep reading, right? That's kind of hitting home. And then Tick says, before I was born, my mom was pregnant before me, but she had a miscarriage. And it led me to wonder, was that me? Or was that a brother or sister? But I've come to terms with the fact that whether it was me or whether it was my brother or sister, the conditions were not sufficient during that time for a baby to be born. And once they were, I came into this world and I'm here now. And it says, when we can look at life in that way, we will no longer hold on to pain and misery from those losses, but instead focus on the beauty of life that comes afterwards. And bro, like when I tell you that I was frozen in thought, feelings were everywhere, and I couldn't help but feel so understood in that moment, because I kept asking myself, why is it that I am like so in love with my twins? Like I felt guilty for like not forgetting the miscarriage, but not letting the miscarriage like still be present within me, the pain of the miscarriage. And I think it's because I was just so in love with like my daughters, and I was like, I'm just so thankful they're here. Right. And I know everybody has the right to navigate these situations differently, because someone could say, no, I still want to acknowledge and feel that pain that I had. And, to each their own, if that's what suits you. But for me, I think that book just confirmed for me that me moving forward with this present moment in which I don't just have one baby, but I have two babies.
Yeah.
Right. Man, that's the best gift and the one of the most beautiful act of kindness that I think anybody's ever just done for me.
Yeah, that's an amazing way of looking at it. I'm glad that you made it your story. Like, this is what I went through. This is what I'm about. Obviously not discarding or dismissing any other way that it can be taken care of, right? But it's a tough question, Am I supposed to sit with this longer? Am I supposed to
like move forward?
That's a tough one.
It is. It is.
But me being a person who really can't speak about that experience, the way that I see it, with how you are now, I think you're doing it just the best way that you can, and it seems to be helping you, maybe, just being a dad, having that responsibility, and through your spirituality, finding your own understanding through it. What I gather, me being a person of faith, is very, very similar to sort of my faith, and so your spirituality do align in a sense. In this case, with that, things are meant to happen to you when you're ready, when you're capable, when you're willing, and everything has to be sort of right. If it isn't right, then it wouldn't be God's plan for you.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to share, man, and just thank you for anybody that sat through, the different stories that I shared, as it pertains to this concept of kindness. I think it was just important. I think not just for me, and because I'm sure you agree, for us, to not just talk about kindness as like giving a gift or giving a hug, but really tying it into some of these real life experiences where it could have gone either way, right? In regards to how somebody showed up for us or didn't show up for us, which is what made that kindness feel so much more just meaningful, right? Kindness already has meaning, but I think there's levels to it depending on like the time, the place, the circumstance,
Yes.
in the way how it impacts us, right? Because I could give you a candy, you could be like, "Oh, Antonio, thank you so much," right? But if you're like, let's say, moving out of this place, and I'm like, "Yo, bro, I'm gonna go and help you. I'm gonna give you a helping hand and help you move
Yeah.
everything," right? There's levels to it,
There's
and it's
different levels
okay,
to it.
and all of them can be acknowledged and appreciated, with the understanding that there's levels, right, of kindness too.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that that's the giving part of it, right? But then also being in a place where you can accept the kindness too,
Yeah,
because I think a candy now and a candy later can change,
for sure.
whether it's, I mean, even if it's the same candy,
Hmm.
right? Just within the state that you're in, am I ready to accept this candy? Do I really want this candy now? Do I want it later?
Later, for sure.
How can you be in a place where you're going to be pretty balanced throughout,
Yeah.
whether it's now or later,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and that's a tough part. Like the tough part of being in a place that you're very so well grounded that whether it's, like I said, whether it's the candy now or the candy later, you're gonna accept it both the same
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like you should still be willing to to offer.
Hmm.
You know.
Hmm.
But yeah. What are your thoughts on that, man? How do you work to get to a place where you're going to be, benevolent on both sides?
Yeah, I think like you said it very beautifully and powerfully, and I think it's a great transition. We've been very much focusing on what it's like to give kindness, right? Whether it have been Nicole who gave kindness, or whether it was Nan who gave kindness, um, and just some of these other right experiences. But it's also about like that receiving of kindness and being okay with that. Shout out to my fraternity brother Corey. We actually had a great conversation about this after we left the Puerto Rican event. He and I, we can have deep talks for days, right? And it can be literally in the middle of the street. It can be at work, like
Oh
during
yeah.
a little bit of time that we have. And we were talking about a lot of just personal, deep things that we're both navigating, more so him. And I always appreciate him for being so trusting and vulnerable with me. But one thing that he said that was very beautiful, and it was like, wow, me and you have this episode on kindness. Tomorrow, he said, I'm finally learning how to be kind to myself. And I think
Yeah.
that part within the concept of kindness is so important and not
Yeah.
often talked about. You said something right, people pleasing, right? That of trying to be kind to everybody else and kind of meet their expectations and follow suit with what they think is best for you, kind of the people pleasing, right? But in doing that, sometimes you're forgetting the importance of making sure you're being kind and pleasing yourself with what feels actually real for yourself, right? And I was telling Corey that I too am now finally reaching a place where I'm learning to be okay with being kind to myself, because for whatever reason, psychologically, I viewed it as selfish. Like, ah, man, but if I like am too kind to myself, like it's gonna take away from being kind to others. Not realizing that it is foundational to be kind to oneself, so that you can then have the capacity to be kind to others in a way that feels sustainable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure you may be able to attest, especially since you said, that you've once navigated life as a people pleaser, that it gets draining,
Yeah.
right? Like to want to please and be kind to everybody else, but then ask yourself or wonder, where do I get that cup filled? Wow, right? Reaching a stage where you realize, well, first you got to fill it up yourself, at least to some degree, and then surround yourself with people who that like take some level of pride and wanting to also reciprocate the kindness that you give out.
Yeah. Super important, man. The kindness to yourself. Obviously that looks different
Mm-hmm.
for everybody. For me, it was breaking down that character trait that I thought I needed in my life to get ahead, to again just be liked. Um, and now it's kind of developed to a good balance of still that, right? Because I do think that I do get a lot out of looking very nice, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? And,
yeah,
and there's certain things that I do to impress,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But I've owned that now.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
now I've owned that. Like there's no shame in me now because Nan does my hair, he did my
Mm-hmm.
hair too. Sort of taking these kind of leaps and stuff to make myself look better, to make me feel better, and to intentionally get it complimented to,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
for sure, for
You know
sure.
what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I used to always feel like, I'm talking about maybe 2-3 years ago, used to feel like, well, what am I really doing this for?
Yeah,
Is it really worth the extra the $50-$70?
Mhm.
Am I paying too much for a shirt,
Mhm.
for the quality of the shirt, which is this is an amazing quality shirt, by the way,
Mhm.
Marcos. um but it's a part of me,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's so much a part of me now that it is a part of me now that really just gives me something to look forward to, I
For
guess.
sure. For
You know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I would frame it as that's your way of being kind to yourself, right? Treating
it is.
yourself,
It
making
is.
sure that you're practicing these self-care methods, right?
Yeah.
Getting a haircut, getting a lineup, getting yourself clothes and shoes that you just feel good in and that you look good in, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything wrong with that,
Yeah.
right? As long as it's not solely for the purpose of what
No,
other people think and say,
that's
right?
the
It
thing.
has to start within you, and I think that
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. Like it became
Yeah.
a part of my identity. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like this shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I like this haircut. If you don't like it, that's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of like the reclaiming of power over that kindness.
Absolutely. It's definitely I like this.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool if you like
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if you don't,
That's cool too.
I'm fine with that
Yep.
too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, brother, man. But we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, for sure.
We're gonna wrap this up. I do want to thank you for sharing that story. I know it's a big time in your life,
Mm-hmm.
something that you went through that many people go through. But once again, the way that you navigated it, the way that you where you're at now, and how I see you now. I mean, you spoke and you said that you're in a good place. You're in a great place.
Yeah.
Man, I admire that so much, and I do strive to one day be a father. And like I said, hopefully one day you can teach me a few things.
I'll try.
I'll be looking for your kindness then, because I'm sure that I'm gonna be kind of probably going a little crazy, like, bro, how do I,
Yeah.
So I definitely look forward to that time. And then if it doesn't happen, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you so much for sharing that story. I'm gonna take that with me. I'm gonna think about it a lot and sort of try to remold and apply that to some of the things that I'm going through myself, man. Thank you.
For sure, brother. I appreciate it. Just want to do one last shout out, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
This past
absolutely.
Saturday, we had our CSU East Bay Welcome Day. Basically
Beautiful.
represents an opportunity for students who have been admitted but haven't yet accepted to come to our campus, check it out, get a feel for it, meet all the amazing program staff that we have. This past Saturday just so happened to be raining and it was freezing cold.
Ugh.
And so I want to give a shout out to Carmen Crum. I want to give a shout out to Corey Copeland, Thomas Logwood, Santiago Fuentes, Kenya Juarez, Jerika Smith. Forgive me, Gerardo was out there. Let me just make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Luis Martinez, not related, but Luis Martinez is amazing. And forgive me for anybody else that I'm missing. Katie Avila, who is actually our outreach director, and she's the one that kind of like plans all of these huge events. So she had a lot, right? We had about 1,200 RSVP. Of course, the rain, kind of impacted that.
But she did her job.
But the level of work, man, that they had to put in, just shout out to you, Katie. I have a lot of love for you. And then just shout out to the families, the young people that came to our campus, and the not so young people who are maybe looking to transfer, but you're still young at heart, right? And still striving for your goals and your dreams. So shout out to you. I think everybody out there in that freezing cold was displaying the ultimate act of kindness, and just like sacrifice for even their health to be there. Right. So I think I just wanted to make sure I said that before I closed out.
Yeah, but I saw you kept warm in one sense, right? In a way, you were over there doing your thing.
Yeah, for sure, performing. That was fun.
Yeah, man, it's always good to see that too. But yeah, thank you for everybody who's viewing. Sure. For giving us an opportunity, a chance to once again hit your screen and share a little bit about what we go through, our versions of acting of kindness. I think it's important to recognize that it's not just the give and the take transactional kind of kindness, but it's the one that sits in you that you can resonate with, things that we still hold on to, right? The things that we talked about have happened years ago. But then we still hold on to that because they were just that impactful and that kind, and it's helped me become the person I am now. And I think I'm pretty sure I can say the same thing about you, right? Like it's helped you.
That. Yeah, it has.
All right, brother, man. Well, we're out.
Yep.
Peace.
See you, everybody. Ooh.
How you feel, man?
Good, man. Good.